Bienvenidos a Dimes y Billetes, un podcast de finanzas para nosotros los otros. Aquí hablamos de dinero, inversiones y economía, todo platicado de forma sencillita, práctica y muy aterrizada, con peras y manzanas. Yo soy Maurice Dieck, un fiel creyente de que necesitamos educación financiera para tomar mejores decisiones en nuestra vida. Y también creo firmemente que juntas, la educación e inclusión financiera son pilares fundamentales para que todos tengamos una vida mejor. Así que prepárate. 3, 2, 1. Empezamos.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Dimes y Billetes episode. This is the first English-speaking episode, so we're trying to expand to other people across the globe, not only to Latin America, but for everyone out there who understands English, and well, to try to the next generations try to learn and understand a little bit more about interview and content in English. So with me in this episode, I have a very special guest, Brian King, president of Marriott International's Caribbean and Latin America region. Brian, welcome to Dimes y Billetes. It's an honor to be with you here.
Well, it's my honor to be with you, Morris. You have an amazing show, and I'm delighted to be here today with your audience.
Brian, thank you very much for accepting this invitation. Brian, can you tell us a little bit of your career? How do you come to be the president of Marriott International Caribbean and Latin America region? A little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks so much. I've been in the travel industry over 30 years, and I like to say if you do something you love, you never work another day in your life. So it never feels like work to me. I love travel, I love hotels, I love exploring the world, and I love what we're able to do for both local and global economies. Travel is such an important part of the world as far as economic growth, diplomacy. I really look at the travel category in a very special way. I did start, as I said, 30 years ago, and I worked directly in our hotels. My prior role, I was the global officer overseeing all of our digital and sales channels around the world. And in January of this year, I was fortunate enough and blessed to accept the role overseeing the Caribbean, Latin American regions, two places on the planet that I absolutely adore. So very, very excited to be here and continue my hospitality journey.
Great, Brian. Brian, what is going on the travel industry? I mean, we haven't seen something as the pandemic for many years. What is your reading? You've been a lot in this industry. You have said, what's your reading? What's going on?
Obviously, I've seen the highs and the lows in my career from a performance standpoint. Nothing has been as devastating, though, as the pandemic for obvious reasons. But what I will say is the travel industry at large, people who work in it have so much heart because they love to serve, and we're fighters. And we are fighting to stabilize the business, take care of our customers, instill confidence in all aspects of the travel journey, air, car, and in my case, certainly hotels. So the pandemic was devastating. There is no doubt about it. At one point in the Caribbean, Latin America region, I think half of our hotels were closed. Now, most of them have reopened, which is fantastic. But that was not just specific to the Caribbean, Latin America region. It was around the globe. We continue to see hotels starting to reopen in Europe, for example. Some hotels are still closed in the US and Canada. They are starting to reopen. In general, we have got most of our properties back online, which is a good thing. But the hardest part of the entire pandemic was the loss of the workforce. So many people, myself included, started as hourly associates, front desk clerks, dishwashers, cooks, housekeeping, and have really grown up in the business and grown their careers. So we're excited to reopen travel safely and get people back into the industry and back into growing their careers again. So at the end of the day, I think it comes down to this, Morris. I think that the need for human connection will always supersede even the worst of times. So from the day we came out of the caves and lit our fires and gathered, those days are back. And the pent-up demand for families to be together again, for business to be together again, it's unstoppable. We just have to do it in a safe manner.
Yeah. Brian, let's be honest. Do you consider at any moment in the pandemic to change industry actually, or no?
Never, not once. I believe so much in what I do, and the people that I work with. And my number one mission is to get our people back. And we're going to do that as our customers come back, and we're going to get our Marriott associates back. That is my number one mission, because I believe so much in this industry, the good that it does for the people who work for us, and the good that it does for the travelers who stay with us.
Great, Brian. So you just said that half of the properties were operational. What was the difference between that half and the other half?
So yes, I don't know the exact number now, but we've got probably, I think globally, at least 90% of our hotels are open and running today. It depended on the market, and really it had a lot to do with the government jurisdictions. So certain markets in Europe, they were completely locked down and the hotels were closed, like restaurants, bars, other institutions. We weren't alone. So it wasn't just hotels that were closing, lots of venues were closing. In some cases, as domestic air travel in some markets stopped for a while as well too, and international travel. So we weren't alone. It cut across industries, retail, travel, what have you, and in some cases even manufacturing. So as governments understood the problem, think about it, we've been at this over a year now, and when it was safe to reopen, that's what happened, and we followed those local government regulations and have been reopening safely. So, for example, in Mexico City, hotels are open, but there is a limit to how many folks you can have in a meeting or in a restaurant, and we're honoring those caps. And as the pandemic continues to diminish, those caps go up. So we'll be welcoming more people back into our restaurants, for example.
Did you see a trend in maybe segments of different hotels, or was it like more related to government policy?
No, it was certainly related to government policy first and foremost, as it should be, and what was the right thing to do. Because first of all, this was a humanitarian crisis before it was a business crisis. Let's be honest. It's about making sure people are healthy and alive and can be with their loved ones. That is the most important thing out of this pandemic. Then it depended on certain markets. We've certainly seen, for example, in Cancun and the Yucatan Peninsula, amazing occupancy, and growth in those markets as people want outdoor beach vacations. So urban markets, more city centers, they've been slower to recover, and that's around the globe. So you're seeing markets with outdoor activities, whether it's national parks, beaches, mountain resorts, doing better than more of the urban, business centers, for example.
Okay. And Brian, you just said something about the difference between the impact of the global impact of the industry and Latin America. What is your reading on this?
Well, first of all, the one thing, I certainly love about the many things I love about Latin America is the culture of service is not something that's trained. It's part of the DNA of the people, and you're just born. People in this part of the world are born to help each other, and just this genuine service, this sense of family and being together and wanting to help and serve. It's hospitality is just amazing because it's in the DNA of everyone who walks the streets. It's amazing. So, and I think that DNA, specifically in Latin America, and our hotels certainly exhibit that. We were doing everything that we could to help in the local markets, whether it was, food pantries, helping first responders as the crisis was at its worst. Our hospitality skills and our facilities, we were doing everything that we could to help the humanitarian crisis first. Now, as business is starting to stabilize and hotels are opening and people are traveling again, clearly our commitment to clean is top of mind. And it's very interesting to me. Marriott in general has always been known for high quality hotels in amazing locations, unbelievably clean and well maintained. But we've never had to market cleanliness. It was an expectation. But today, we're very clear saying what our cleanliness protocols are. So customers realize the experience will be different than what they're used to because we're following those government regulations and CDC guidelines and the World Health Organization, of course.
Of course. Brian, I have to ask, what's your favorite destination on Latin America?
Oh, that is a I love all my children equally, some more equally than others. I mean, from an urban center, I have a real fondness for Mexico City. It's an amazing city with such a heartbeat and such a pulse. The diversity, culture, the history, the art, the food. I mean, it's one of my favorite places as an urban market to go for sure. Cabo, I also live in the West Coast of the United States, and there's nothing greater than a wonderful trip to Cabo San Lucas, which is incredible. So really, really excited. And plus, there's amazing smaller markets, Tulum, places like that. There's just so much to explore. There's so much to explore.
Yeah, great. Brian, what are the main challenges you see for the Latin American market for Marriott and for the travel industry in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it is certainly vaccine distribution. We have seen, if you use Israel as an example, or even the United States, as the vaccine distribution goes up, the travel industry follows right behind it. It's literally a complete correlation. So the quicker and the more efficiently the vaccines are distributed, and that we reach, I think whatever the number is of herd immunity, the better for the economies and the people, first of all. We want to get people vaccinated so they're with their loved ones and they're happy and they're healthy. So anything that we can do to help with COVAX and the larger world organization as far as vaccine distribution in our local communities, Marriott is standing by to do whatever we possibly can. We've had, some hotels that have actually been used as vaccine centers in certain parts of the world. So we're standing by to help like any good community citizen would be. But it comes down to vaccine distribution at the end of the day. That is the most important thing that will not just be good for the travel industry, but be good for humanity at large.
Great. Brian, I'm going to go back to March 2020. I want to try to understand how a big company like Marriott reacted to March 2020. What were the immediate actions? What was your reading in this moment? What happened in those days?
Yeah. I will tell you, for Marriott, it was an interesting, like every company time. We had literally just completed in December of the prior year the full integration of Starwood hotels into the Marriott system. All of our systems and infrastructure was finally done. So we were at this precipice of where we're really going to see an explosion of opportunities, which had started to happen already, is we combined our loyalty program with 147 million members worldwide. So already we were poised for just unbelievable performance. So we were all, I think, very anticipatory about 2020, and the year had started out incredibly well. And then, as my counterparts in China were describing what was happening, obviously we became certainly very concerned and we're working around the globe. And then when the situation unfolded in Italy, that was really when I think the hammer fell, and we realized this is just not going to be contained in one part of the world, and this will be global in nature. So I think for all of us, it was a bit gut-wrenching, jarring, disbelief. Like anyone who went through this could not believe this was happening. And then you reflect, what could we have done? What should we have done? And it was hard to have answers because I think all of us is a global community were struggling to understand what was going on. And then what the ramifications would be is you continue to see hospital beds, the hospitals run out of beds, families losing loved ones. I mean, it was heart-wrenching, and our own associates. And then obviously the business, Marriott sales dropped by 90% and the industry at large, right? So no one had seen a crisis of that magnitude ever. And, this is a company that's been around 94 years almost. World War II, depressions, I mean, we've seen it all, but nothing like this. But I will tell you what got all of us through this was Marriott's value system of caretaking. First of all, we, mobilized about what can we do in our local communities and help first responders. Meanwhile, we were figuring what can we do to help our associates the best that we possibly could, because themselves and their families were impacted. I mean, because first and foremost, it was a humanitarian crisis. So Marriott's Human Resources Department was in full gear. And then, unfortunately, the company shrank. But in the process of shrinking the company, we were working with other companies to help place our associates. As grocery store needs were going up, in certain markets, Amazon was hiring like crazy. We wanted to help find work for our associates when there was nothing for them to do. So that was really the most important thing. And then secondly, well, like any company, we were stabilizing our cash position and cash flow, which we did rapidly for the long-term health of the company. So in the moment, it was dire, but one thing I did know that I never questioned was the fortitude that Marriott as a company has to get through, to make the best decisions as quickly as possible and to execute upon them. And we did, and very quickly, in the worst possible situation, we stabilized the company.
It's great financial discipline and at the end corporate policy that to try to came out of this situation. That's great, Brian.
Morris, I would add one thing, pardon me. When we have a situation like this, you have to look at the balance sheet and you have to look at the human sheet. We are a business of people, and a great financial expert or business leader can balance both financial responsibilities and human responsibilities. And that's how we went into this pandemic. We have to take care of the human sheet, our payroll, and our people, and we have to take care of our financial position. Sorry.
That's great, Brian. So now looking into the future and the outlook, is Marriott changing strategy?
Of course, our strategy is always evolving. There's the short-term strategy, which is how do we continue to get through this, and then the longer-term strategy of where we're going. What we have seen is in recent weeks, I would say the financial freeze for investment in travel is starting to thaw. Banks are seeing an investment in private equity, the huge opportunity that travel has ahead of it, because there's so much pent-up demand. And I think the lesson, myself included, we've all learned from this pandemic is this: I've never taken my family, my friends, or my work colleagues for granted. I have taken access to them for granted. Yeah. I did not see my mom for 16 months, right? And when you all go through that, as families do, it really puts things in perspective. So now as travel starts to happen again, what I believe you'll see are a couple trends. You're going to see more multi-generational travel, families all going together. You're going to see them traveling for a longer period of time than maybe just a short weekend. That's like, if we're going to go, let's make this a week or 2 weeks. I think that's the second thing that you're going to see. And then I think the third thing that you're going to see is this idea of, I call it kind of E squared, education and entertainment. People are looking for educational opportunities. When you prepare a meal together and you share a meal together, it's an amazing experience. So cooking schools, and I think our hotels will explode, and interesting things like that. And then this idea of, you're going to see in travel a growth for, if we're going to take some time together, can we do some type of community activity in the local market that we're visiting, whether it's outreach, a food bank, what have you. So customers are asking how they can help when they travel. So there'll be those kind of magical vacations that have this more social dimension to them. But I think there'll be more travel, and it will be longer, and it will be multi-generational.
That's great. Like a different way to travel from people and looking different things when they do it. Brian, what about the new working scheme? Home office, different companies adapting to more flexible ways to work. And at the end, it's more time for people to travel, maybe, or to work from Cabo or from Cancun instead of my office.
That you hit it on the head, Morris. I think this idea of remote work, it was already starting before the pandemic. The technology was there, but the technology became a central focus. I mean, whether it was Teams, Google, Hangout, Zoom, name the company, these platforms exploded overnight, and people got very comfortable very quickly with it. And there's statistics out there showing that white collar workers, their productivity increased 30% during the pandemic working from home. Because I think there was always this suspicion in business, not me, but that what were people really doing? Well, what you're finding out is they were working really hard, and they were also able to, stop in the middle of their day and go to a doctor's appointment and not feel guilty about it. So I think it has changed forever. But what I do think is different is, when you've got some people in a meeting room and some people calling in or using technology, it's not as easy. It's easier when you're all on the same platform, you're all together.
Yeah.
So I think you will continue to see what I'll call it kind of beehives. People will fly in or go to their office, work together on a creative project, go back to their homes, and then come back. It's going to be this kind of back and forth thing. So I don't think the office is closed forever by any means, but I do think this hybrid model is here to stay.
Yeah, and I've heard of some companies, big companies, like making some kind of relationship with hotel companies to like give, I don't know, 15 days in retreat for some employees so they can work there. And I don't know, like this flexible scheme so people can enjoy maybe a little bit more their work and they see like a value from the company also.
Yeah, we've even started a program right now called Day Pass, where you can just come to one of our hotels and rent a room for the day, and work there. If you're kind of need a change of scenery, you can work in your home for 6 months. So just for the day. Of course, there's Play Pass. You're going to be there. You're going to work for 3 days and bring your family and play for 4 days in our resorts. So you are seeing this blending of leisure, business and leisure blended together.
Yeah. Brian, are you expecting a peak in travel maybe for the last months of 2021? What about 2022?
Yeah, definitely. We are already seeing group bookings throughout Latin America in fourth quarter and the Caribbean as well too. So some of the bigger groups that have stopped booking are now booking into fourth quarter, which is a really good sign for the industry. We are seeing transient vacation travelers booking further out. During the pandemic, it was kind of these very last minute, I think I just need to go 3 days out. Now they're booking 60 days out and longer. So people are planning and they're getting ready. Again, as the vaccine distribution goes up, travel will come right behind it, and it will come roaring back. It will be the roaring 20s, the roaring 2021 and 22s for the travel industry.
Yeah. Are you expecting more local travel or multinational, international travel?
Good question. The way the recovery has started has been short-term drive markets, right? You might be in Mexico City and you go out to the mountains. Eventually, then it became kind of in-country short-haul flights, 2 hours, maybe something quick. Then you're going to start to see longer haul flights to adjacent countries, and then eventually long haul flights being 14 hours to Australia. So that's how the recovery has been going. Is certainly the drive market, people getting their cars and going, will continue to be very, very strong this year. Again, for a family trip, or they're just going to work somewhere for a few weeks in our hotels or Marriott's Homes and Villas, which were also launched as well too prior to the pandemic. So it is happening. And what is the real indicator of that is you're seeing the airline industry continue to add capacity, and that capacity is continuing to fill, and then they add another flight and then another flight. For example, American Airlines is acquired more gates in Miami and is expanding rapidly their growth into Caribbean, Latin America. I think Aeromexico is also lining up more flights because the demand is there. So that's a great early indicator. Yeah.
Great, Brian. What keeps Brian King awake at night?
Speed. Everyone wants this to go faster than it is, but you have to be realistic that this is incredibly complex, and it takes the World Health Organization, government, healthcare, and public health professionals to guide us on the appropriate measures that we need to take to be safe to do this. So the speed of the vaccine is the thing that keeps me up at night. The supply is certainly getting there with all the major manufacturers and growing exponentially, but getting it in people's arms, that's really what keeps me up at night.
Great. And Brian, for the future, what do you think are going to be the key, the secret sauce in the travel industry for those companies that are going to have success in the next years? Where is the secret sauce?
Yep, I think the secret sauce is rich content. And it's very interesting. During the pandemic, the amount of content our customers were absorbing and looking for dream destinations or inspirational content, places they'd never heard about, because they had time to do it. So, the kind of, reporting, travel reporting, leisure reporting, destination reporting, the destinations themselves will continue to market their rich content. So Marriott will do the same thing, curating that content for a customer who has a particular region of the world they're interested in. So there are so many choices. How you help the customer quickly navigate those choices and make up their mind. That's how I think the travel companies in the future will survive and do well, coupled with the loyalty program. So recently we announced a partnership with Uber, where you're able to link your Marriott Bonvoy account to Uber and earn points along the way. And we just launched our new Bonvoy credit card in Mexico 2 weeks ago. We're very excited about that. A lot of applications already. So the travel ecosystem and connecting it to your everyday life, that'll be the thing that sets the winners and losers apart. There's no doubt about it. But you need scale to do it.
Yeah, and of course, the reopening in different countries, it'll be, of course, not at the same time, right?
Correct. Yep, the pace will be different, and we'll work closely with those municipalities and governments.
So the Latin America region, it's pretty big. There's a lot of destinations, not only in Mexico, but in other countries also. How are you seeing this reopening and activation in different countries throughout Latin America?
Yeah, I think, you continue to see Chile working very hard on vaccine distribution, Paraguay. I mean, every country's in a different place, honestly. And I think it's going to take individual country efforts, and it's going to take global efforts through the World Health Organization to make sure that distribution of the vaccine is as equitable and as speedy as possible. So I think each of these markets are clearly in a different place. But even so, for example, in Colombia, weekend travel was exploded in some of the resorts. So it's a lot of inter-country travel. So we're seeing that same trend no matter what country you're in. Domestic travel is growing, and then international will follow.
Great. And Brent, is the business model of Marriott changing in some way to achieve profitability?
Like every company, obviously, we're always trying to be, have operational excellence and efficiency. But our business model at the end of the day is about people who believe in what they do and they serve from their heart. And there is nothing more magical than when you're a traveler and you're traveling to a new destination or a foreign land, and there is that smiling front desk clerk or bellman who greets you, who makes you feel warm and welcome and safe and secure. That's the heart of our business model, people serving people. And when you do that well, the money will come.
The money comes. You attract it, right? That's great. Brian, I want you to give a message to everyone listening that maybe our audience it's not sure if it's the right moment to start traveling. Maybe they're a little bit scared because, as you said, the vaccine topic. Well, it's not that even here in Latin America. So, what would the message be?
I think it is safe to travel if you take the right precautions, right? And that's the end of the day. I mean, you can see everywhere around the world things are happening. The great freeze where the world stopped in place last April, February, March, April, the thaw has happened, but it's because people have been cautious and careful and they're listening to healthcare professionals. When you come to our hotels, yes, you will wear a mask when you're in every public area. You can stay in our rooms, and some people are saying, I don't want housekeeping, and that's fine. We'll do whatever you need to feel comfortable. But you can travel safely. You just have to follow the protocols. And be thoughtful about it. There's a reason why the airplanes are filling, and you're not hearing a bunch of cases coming out of the airlines when you think about it. You just really are not. So people are wearing masks, the air is circulated, hand sanitizer is readily available. If you're cautious and you're thoughtful, you should be fine.
That's the measure Marriott their properties, and so people also understand that the right measures are being taken. Right? So, Brian, lastly, what destinations would you recommend people to enjoy, maybe for the different objectives of their travel, maybe leisure, maybe work? What is your recommendations?
I do think that some of the urban markets are safe to travel to, and people just haven't been thinking about them. I think it's an opportunity to go to a city that's probably less busy now than normal, with great outdoor parks and activities, and every city's destination management company or entity, tourism entity, will tell you what's up and open and running. So I always recommend starting there just to understand the destination first. So I think small, 1-2 night getaways, even in town staycations, get out of the house, do that. That's a good first step. Just go somewhere for the night with your family. And then get more adventurous. I definitely think mountain opportunities are continuing to grow. Beach will continue to be strong. Everyone loves to go to the beach. Everyone does. But I think if you're hesitant, start with something local, try it for the night, and then continue to go from there.
Great. Brian, the pandemic has changed the travel industry for good. I want to ask you, what do you think about this industry for the next, not immediate years, but maybe 5-10 years into the future? What's the future of the travel industry for you?
Well, I think it's very bright. And the reason why I believe that is prior to the pandemic, more people, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, their sense of wanderlust and adventure just is exploding from their chest and their heart. And part of it is, compared to their parents' generation, is the easy access of information, right? I mean, it's all at your fingertips. It's all on your phone. If you want to go to Machu Picchu, you can be sitting on the bus going to work or sitting in a park and research everything you know about Machu Picchu, right? It was more difficult 10, 15 years ago to do that. You really had to work at it. So I think that generation has ease of access to information. They have a sense of wanderlust. We live in the Instagram world, and people want to get out there and see the world. So that was already happening. I think the pandemic just stunted it for a moment, but that doesn't mean it stopped that desire. So as we move past this, I think the next post-pandemic, I think the next 10 years of travel are absolutely beautiful and stunning, and I'm really excited to be part of it.
Great, Brian. Thank you very much for this interview. I also believe the travel industry, it comes very, very bright. I love the way you speak, that people, it's going to be more conscious about their relationship with people and how they manage time with loved ones and how we want to spend time with them. And traveling is just a great way to enjoy people we love. And I also believe there's going to be a great pick. I've traveled already. In the past months, and it's going to be great. I talk to people and they just tell me, I want to travel. I'm dying for like sometimes there were some travels that you didn't enjoy that much, and said you take them for granted. And that,
Yeah.
I believe that's a great problem with people. Sometimes we take a lot of things for granted, and once you don't have it, you say, "Oh, come on, what happened?" Oh, like even simple trips, local trips. You don't have to go international. You can enjoy them very, very good. And in Latin America, we have great places. You've said it, great
Amazing.
places to enjoy, and it's gonna be a wonderful future. I also believe that. Brian, thank you very much for sharing with us. Any final thoughts on the topic and the future of travel?
Well, thank you for your time. And as I always say, keep wanderlust in your heart and keep your bags packed at the door. So get ready to go.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Brian King, President of Marriott International Caribbean and Latin America region, here for you in Dimes y Billetes. Brian, it was a pleasure to be sharing with you. Hope to have you soon in the program again.
I look forward.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Take care, Morris. So nice to meet you.